For the first 2 years, some people are genuinely convinced their cat doesn't like them. They wanted a cat who curls up in their lap. What they got was a cat who sits 3 feet away, watching. And then, one ordinary evening, with no food involved and nobody calling anyone over, a pal lands on their leg and just stays there. If that has ever happened to you, you were handed something most people file away as cute. Because most cats don't do this to other cats at all. Not in the wild, not in a colony, not with their own littermates. This gesture lives almost entirely in the space between a cat and one specific human. There are 6 things happening inside that touch. The 5th one is the part nobody talks about, and it's the one that tells you whether to leave your hand where it is. Start with something that gets skipped in almost every conversation about cat behavior. Meowing isn't really cat language. Adult cats in the wild are close to silent with each other. They communicate through scent, posture, slow blinks, and tail position, almost never through sound. Meowing evolved for us. It developed over thousands of years alongside humans, because humans responded to it, and cats noticed. The paw does something similar, but stranger. It isn't a leftover from wild behavior. It isn't the thing cats do to each other when they want something. When your cat places a paw on you and holds it there, calm and deliberate, they're using a signal they use almost nowhere else in their life, with no other animal, in no other context. So the gesture isn't habit. It isn't instinct running on autopilot. It's your cat having worked out, over time, that you respond to this, and choosing to use it on purpose. Researchers who study cat-human communication have a name for it: social referencing. The cat reading you, adjusting the signal to what they know you understand, and reaching out. And of everything available to them, meowing, knocking something off a table, staring at you from the doorway, they picked the quietest one. Drop a 1 in the comments if your cat has done this to you. I want to know how many of you recognize the moment. The paw doesn't come first. That's the part most owners miss. Before that weight lands on your leg, your cat has already been watching you, and probably longer than you'd guess. Cats are unusually good readers of human body language. A 2015 study out of the University of Lincoln found that cats track their owner's emotional state through facial expression, posture, and tone of voice. They're not just reacting to what you did, they're reading what you're about to do. So when you shift your weight before standing up, when your breathing changes, when your legs go slack, your cat clocks it. And the paw often arrives in response to that. Not because they're hungry, because something about you changed, and they came to check. This is why it so often happens at the strangest moments. You didn't call them, you didn't make a sound, you just got quieter and stiller than you were, and suddenly, there's contact. Ask anyone who has ever cried alone in a room with a cat. They tend to tell the same story. The cat came, onto the chest, purring harder than usual, staying far longer than a cat normally would. That isn't sentiment. That's a very good reader responding to the only data they have on you. Your cat has been studying you since roughly the day they came home. But there's something inside that paw that has nothing to do with you at all. And it started before they ever met you. When your cat was days old, blind and helpless, they pressed their paws against their mother while nursing. That motion, the one we call kneading or making biscuits, wasn't only physical. It triggered a release of oxytocin. It told a very young nervous system, I'm somewhere safe. I can let go. I want to be careful here, because these two get blended together. And they aren't the same. Kneading is rhythmic. Press, release, press, release. Usually with a slightly unfocused look. A paw at rest is different. It lands once, and then it simply stays. But they share a root. The contact itself is doing something to your cat while it happens. That quiet press is wired to a very old association, and the association is safety. So when your adult cat rests a paw on you and lets it sit there, some part of their system is settling, not because they think you're their mother, because steady pressure against something warm has meant safe since the first week of their life. And right now you're the warm, steady thing? which is why you'll so often see it right before their eyes close or before they go completely still. The touch isn't only communication going out, it's regulation coming in. They're telling you something and calming themselves down with the same motion, and you didn't earn that by being clever. You earned it by being consistently there until safe started to feel like you. Now, everything so far assumes one thing, that the paw on you is relaxed. Soft weight, no tension, claws in. That's the version everybody pictures. It isn't the only version, and telling them apart matters more than any single fact in this video. Cats are built around the ability to leave. Every part of that body is engineered for it. Launch, dodge, disappear. 4 paws on the ground isn't a resting position, it's a ready position. It's how a small predator who is also prey stays prepared for whatever the room does next. When your cat lifts a paw and rests it on you, they hand some of that over. An animal that could have gone from still to gone in a quarter of a second has just made itself slower on purpose. A 2020 paper on interspecies touch, published in Frontiers in Veterinary Science, found that physical contact across species functions as a mutual vulnerability signal. Both sides become slightly more open, slightly less defended. Your cat isn't reasoning through that. The instinct is simply there, and they're reaching past it, which makes the meaning fairly simple. In the moment that paw settles on you, your cat has decided you are not a threat, not tolerated, actively safe. Safe enough to be a little less ready than they'd be anywhere else. And the honest part matters too. Not every cat arrives here with a person, and it isn't a scoreboard. Some cats live their whole lives at a low hum of alertness, even around people they clearly adore. So if yours has ever rested a paw on you with no tension in the body, you were handed something a lot of owners never get. This is the one I promised, and almost nobody covers it. A paw is not one gesture, it's at least 3, and they don't mean the same thing. The first is what we've been talking about. Soft weight, claws in, body loose. That one is contact. The second is a paw with a little claw in it. A light hook, a tug on your sleeve. That usually isn't affection. It's a request. Cats do it because it works. Same logic as the meow. You responded once, so it stayed in the vocabulary. The third is the one that hurts people, emotionally more than physically. The paw lands. You start petting, and 30 seconds later you get a swat or a nip, and you decide your cat is moody or doesn't like being touched. Or, if you've been feeling fragile about it, doesn't really like you. That's almost never what happened. What happened is overstimulation. Petting accumulates in a cat's nervous system. There's a threshold, and in some cats it's very low. The paw was contact, the nip was please pause. Those messages aren't contradictory. They arrived in order, and the middle got missed. So read the whole animal, not just the paw. A twitching tail isn't automatically bad, and experienced cat people will correct you on that fast. A cat whose tail twitches while they keep leaning back into your hand is enjoying it and filling up, ears flattening or rotating sideways, skin rippling along the spine, tail picking up speed. That's your warning, and it comes with a few seconds to spare. Stop your hand before they have to tell you to. There's one more, and it answers the question a lot of you have been quietly sitting with. What if my cat has never done this at all? Stay for it, because the answer is kinder than you'd expect. And there's a 10-second thing you can try tonight. Go back to where we started. Most cats don't do this with other cats. They groom each other. They sleep in a pile. But quiet, deliberate contact with a resting paw happens almost entirely in one narrow space. Between a cat and a human they've decided to trust completely. In 2019, a study, led by Dr. Kristen Vitale at Oregon State University, was published in Current Biology. It found that around 65% of cats form what researchers call a secure attachment bond with their owner. That's the same category of bond measured between human infants and their mothers. And here's what gives it weight. Dogs were bred for this. For thousands of years, we selected the dogs that bonded hardest with us, generation after generation. Cats weren't. Cats largely domesticated themselves. They walked into human settlements because there were rodents there, and they have been deciding about us ever since. Which means there's no evolutionary pressure sitting behind your cat's affection, no instinct demanding they connect with you. So if your cat has never rested a paw on you, hear this clearly. It doesn't mean they didn't choose you. It means they chose you in a different dialect. Some do it by sleeping in the same room instead of the warm one. Some by waiting at the door. Some by being the one who turns up when you're crying, and never once when you're fine. The paw is one sentence in a language. It was never the whole language. Which brings me back to the person from the beginning. 2 years of being certain the cat didn't like them. 2 years of reading distance as rejection. When the cat sat 3 feet away, because that was where the watching worked best. If that was you, or if it's you right now, the thing worth knowing is that nothing was broken and you weren't failing at it. You were being evaluated by an animal with no obligation to like you, using a system you couldn't see. That takes exactly as long as it takes, and then one evening, a paw. Soft. Unasked for. Staying. A signal invented for humans, delivered by an animal who has been reading you for months, soothing them even as they give it, costing them a piece of their own readiness to run, from a species that was never bred to need us, and came to us anyway. That isn't just sweetness. It isn't habit either. That's a choice, made quietly, over and over, in the shape of one small paw on your leg. One last thing, and you can use it tonight. When that paw lands and the body around it is loose, most of us do one of 2 things wrong. We pull the hand away, or we grab the paw and start petting it. Try neither. Hold still and give a slow blink back. If your cat has never returned your slow blinks before, this is the moment they're most likely to. You're already in contact, and they're already settled. If your cat has a version of this that's entirely their own, tell me about it below. And whenever that paw turns up tonight, sit still 1 second longer than you normally would. It counts for more than you knew,